Gita as it is. Introduction. Om Ajnana Trimerandasya Jana Jana Shlayakaya Chakshu Unmitam Yena Tasmi Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtama Shapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Pada Mayam Datati Swa Padantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eye. The torch of knowledge. I offer my respect for obeisance, and to him, when where Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Na Vaishnavam Cho Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahag Gana Raghunatha Nivittam Tamasa Jivam Sadavitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitavam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Cha. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and unto the feet of all Vaishnava I offer my respectful obeisance unto lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunatha Dasa and Raghunatha Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisance to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivasa and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisance to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Oh my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distress and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Puranam Mami Hariye Priye. I offer my respect to Radharani, whose bodily complex is like a molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakal Pataru Vyasacho Kripa Sindhu Bhya Evacho Pati Tanam Pava Nibhyo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisance unto all the Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, who can fulfill the desire of everyone, just like the desire tree, and who are full of compassion for the fallen soul. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisance to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasa and all other in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishad in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinion without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the direction written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whims or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the direction on the label or the direction given by the physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of the Bhagavad Gita is Lord Shri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagwan. Of course, the word Bhagwan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. And certainly here Bhagwan designates Lord Krishna as a great personality. But at the same time we should know that Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great acharyas. Spiritual master like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord Himself also established Himself as the Supreme Personality Godhead in Bhagavad Gita, and He is accepted as such in Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam known as Bhagavad Purana. Krishna tu Bhagwana Swayama. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the Personality of Godhead Himself. In the fourth chapter of the Gita, the Lord says, Imami vivasvate yogam proktevan aham avayama vivasvana manvah prahamanura ishvakave dhavita evama parampara praptam imami rajashreyo viduhi sa kalenaha mahata yogo nashatah parantapa स एव या मयेते ध्यायोगा प्रोक्ताः पुरातनाः वक्तोऽसि मे शाकः चेते रहस्यं हया itad utaman. Here the Lord informed Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the Sun God, and Sun God explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ishwaku, and in the way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating the supreme secret to him because he is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is the Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely Jnana, the yogi, and the bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here, the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the Sun God to others. And it was His wish that His teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee to the Lord, a direct student of Krishna and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direction and a direct relationship with God. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with Lord. That is very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in relation with Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways. First, one may be a devotee in passive state. Second, one may be a devotee in active state. Third, one may be a devotee as a friend. Fourth, one may be a devotee as a parent. Fifth, one may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with Lord, and relation is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present state of our life, we have not only forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relation with the Lord. Every living being out of many billion and trillion of living being has a particular relation with the Lord eternally. This is called Swarupa. By the process of devotional service, one can revive the Swarupa, and the stage is called Swarupa Siddhi, perfection of one constitution position. So Arjuna was a devotee and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter. Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Paramadhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purushame Shashvatam Deyam Adi Devam Ajami Vibhum 13. Ahusatvam Rasyah Sarve Devashi Naradaha Tata Ashito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaive Ravishime 14. Sarvam etat ratmam manye yan mama vadasi keshava nahi te bhagwan vayaktimam viduradeva na danavaha. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Brahma, the ultimate, the Supreme Abode and Purifier, but the Absolute Truth and the Eternal Divine Person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty." All the great sages like Narad, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasa proclaimed that this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me, O Krishna. I totally accept as true all that you have told me. Neither the god nor demon, O Lord, know your personality. After hearing Bhagavad Gita from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Parama Brahma, Supreme Brahma. Every living being is Brahma, but the Supreme Living Being, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Brahma. Paramam Dhamma means that he is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitram means that he is pure, untainted by the material contamination. Purusham means that he is a supreme enjoyer. Divyam, transcendental. Adi Devam, the supreme personality of Godhead. Ajama, the unborn. And Vibhum, the greatest, all pervading. Now one of may think that because Krishna was a friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery, but Arjuna, just to dry out this kind of doubt from the mind of the reader of Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these praises in the next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by himself but by authority like the sage Narada, Ashita, Devala, Vyasadeva, and so on. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he sees to be completely perfect. Sarvam etat ratma manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also said the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand, that he cannot be known even by the great demigod. This means that Lord cannot even be known by personality greater than human being. So how can a human being understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee? Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at least theoretically according to the statement of Bhagavad Gita or the statement of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. We should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the submissive spirit. We can understand the Bhagavad Gita unless one read the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit. It is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what is the great Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficult in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficult in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna but every one of us is full of anxiety because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, actually we are not meant we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal. But somehow or other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about the position as to what they are put into the awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering but rather want to make solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jinyasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquire about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from, where they shall go after death, are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna. Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life. When man forget that purpose, even then, out of many human being who awaken, there may be one who actually enter the spirit of understanding his position, and for him this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of nescience. The Lord is very merciful upon living entity, especially human being. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problem of life so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generation of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. The subject of Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of five truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entity, Jivas. There is Ishvara, which means controller, and there are Jivas, the living entity, which are controlled. If a living entity say that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with Ishvara, the supreme controller, and Jivas, the controlled living entity, Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of existence of the whole universe. All the manifestation of material nature and karma activity are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activity. All living entity are engaged in different activity. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn that God is what the living entity are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, and how it is controlled by time, and what the activity of the living entities are. Out of those five basic subject matter in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that Supreme Godhead of Krishna or Brahman, Brahman or Supreme Controller or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affair, over material nature, etc., as will be explained in the later chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Prakriti is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of automobiles engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machineries there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Lord, the Supreme Lord, is a driver under whose direction everything is working. Now the jivas or the living entity have been accepted by Lord, as we will note in the later chapter, as he parts and passes. A parcel of gold is living entity. A parcel of gold is also gold. A drop of water from the ocean is also salty. Similarly, we the living entity being part and parcel of Supreme Control, Ishvara or Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, have all the quality of the Supreme Lord and minute quantity because we are minute Ishvara, subordinate Ishvara. We are trying to control nature, as presently we are trying to control space or planets, and this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the supreme controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under the control whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is also controlled by Lord. Just like the activity of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entity and material nature are both predominated, controlled by Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entity, although part and parcel of Supreme Lord, are to the considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in 17th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam itastava anyam. This Prakriti is my lower nature. Prakriti me vidihi me parma jiva bhutamam mahabhaho yayadeyam dharyate jagat. And beyond this there is another Prakriti, Jiva Bhutam, the living entity. Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and a mode of ignorance. About this mode there is eternal time. By a combination of this mode of nature under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried on from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruit of our activity. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer, but then say I have lost all my money in business. Then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the result of our works and we suffer the results. This is called karma. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, eternal time, and karma activity. All are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of this fire, the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are eternal. Manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that manifestation of a material nature is false, or according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of Vaishnava, this is not so. Manifestation of the world is not accepted as false, it is accepted as real, but temporary it is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season which nourish grains. As soon as the rainy season is over and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dries up. Similarly, this meditative manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears, such as the working of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally, therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord referred to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is separated energy of the Supreme Lord, and similar living entity are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated, they are eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and the times are all interrelated and all the eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effect of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the result of our activity from time immemorial. But we can change the result of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activity. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activity we should adopt to gain relief from the action and reaction of all this activity, but this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. The position of Ishvara is the supreme consciousness. Jiva, or the living entity, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of Supreme Lord, but one of the two Jiva is conscious, the other Prakriti is not conscious. This is the difference. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called superior because the Jiva has conscious which is similar to the Lord. The Lord is the Lord is supreme, conscious, however, and one should not claim that the Jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the Jiva and Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetra Janha, in the conscious as is a living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas Lord is conscious of all bodies because he lives in the heart of every living being. He is conscious of the psychic movement of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is diving direction for the living entity to act as a desire. Living entity forget what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the act and reaction of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we put on and take off old clothes. As a soul thus migrates, we suffer the action and reaction of his past activity. This activity can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness and sanity and understand what sort of activity he should adopt. If he does so, then all action reaction of his past activity can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we state that of five items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, four are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. Supreme Conscious Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the conscious of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that the conscious is generated by the association of matter. That is mistaken idea. The theory that conscious develop under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by coming of material circumstances. Just as light reflected through colored glasses may appear to be a certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Maya Dhakshena Prakriti. When he descends into material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matter, as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness in pure consciousness. Our action will be dovetailed to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activity, rather our activity are to be purified, and purified activity are called bhakti. Activity in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activity, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know the activity of a devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three mode of nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conception cannot understand this situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in the position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In Srimad Bhagavata also the definition of liberation is given. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world, and situation, pure consciousness, or the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita I intend to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find at the last stage of Gita instruction that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means act in accordance with the instruction of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is the affinity of being affected by the inferior mode. The Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned soul. What is the consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then what am I? I am contaminated conscious. I am means I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. The world because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer, and a living entity being the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He is created and enjoyed, for instance, a part of a machine. He is created and enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of a body cooperates with the whole body. The hand, feet, eyes, legs, and so on are all the part of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyer. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs moves. The hands supply foods. The teeth chews, and all part of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is a principal factor that nourishes the body organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the trees by watering its roots, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For its body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the part of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we as subordinates living beings are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. This cooperation will actually help us. Just a food taken by the stomach will help all other part of the body. with the finger of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. Central figure of creation and of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, and living entity are cooperative. By cooperation, but by cooperation they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, Supreme Lord should be satisfied. All the tendency to become the creator and tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entity, because these tendencies are there in the Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world. We shall find therefore in Bhagavad Gita that complete whole is comprised of the Supreme Controller, the control living entity, the cosmic manifestation, eternal time, karma or activity, and all of this are explained in this text. All of this taken completely from the complete whole, and the complete whole is called Supreme Absolute Truth. Complete whole and the complete absolute truths are Supreme Personality Godhead. Sri Krishna also Sri Krishna. All manifestations are due to his different energy. He is the complete whole. It is also explained in the Gita that impersonal Brahma is also subordinate to the complete. Brahma is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra to be like the ray of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahma is the shining ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahma is incomplete realization of the Absolute Whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma. In the 12th chapter, it shall be seen that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both impersonal Brahma and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchinananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in the way Ishwaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchinananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all cause. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternal.